Hi everybody, I think that we can start. First of all, I would like to thank you for having registered in the webinar on social media to communicate science and R&D projects. The webinar has been developed in the framework of the European Paediatric Translational Research Project as part of the activities of the communication work package. Next slide, please. My name is Mariangela Lupo and I will be one of the speakers of the today webinar. I am the head of the Networking, Training and Advocacy areas at Consorzio per Valutazioni Biologiche e Farmacologiche, that is also the coordinator of the EPTRI project. The second speaker of the webinar will be Estíbaliz Urarte. She's Communications Manager at the Patient Engagement in Research area in Fondation San Joan de Deo. Next slide. Before starting the webinar, I would like to remind you to mute all the microphones and to raise questions only at the end of the presentation. You can use the chat box that you can find on the right side of the screen to send us any questions or suggestions. The webinar will be recorded and it will be available on the EPTRI website. At the end of the webinar, you will receive the slides and a very short evaluation survey. It will take only 5 minutes of your time, but it will be of great help for us to improve the quality of our activities. Next slide. Okay, so in this slide, you can see the agenda of the webinar with the list of topics that will be presented today. Next slide. EPTRI, the European Paediatric Translational Research Infrastructure, is a European-funded project coordinated by Consorzio per Valutazioni Biologiche e Farmacologiche. It is a not-for-profit organization founded in 2000 with the mission to perform research and provide scientific, economic and regulatory consultancies for innovation in the health sector at European level. EPTRI is aimed to create the framework for a new research infrastructure intended to enhance technology-driven pediatric research in drug discovery and early development phases to be translated into clinical research and pediatric use of medicines. Next slide. The project currently involves 26 partners from 19 European and non-European countries. It includes existing research infrastructures, scientific and clinical centers of excellence, top leading universities, and it aims to create a conceptual design report to set up the new European pediatric research infrastructure. Next slide. EPTRI is a project that arises from the need to find answers to the serious lack of medicines for children in Europe and worldwide. It aims to propose developmental models for a future research infrastructure focusing on pediatric medicines, integrating in this way technology-driven aspects with clinical trials. Next slide. Indeed, children and young people represent only the 20% of the European population. When we refer to this group of people as patients, it is essential to consider that they are different from adult patients. Their metabolism is different because they are in continuous development, and also they can suffer diseases that sometimes they might be limited to the pediatric setting only. Taking into consideration these specificities, the need of treatments addressed only for children is a very public priority. Nowadays, around 30% of the medicines are also authorized for pediatric patients. For this reason, it is essential to promote and increase pediatric research. Next slide. EPTRI will create, in this sense, the framework for a future research infrastructure focused on pediatric medicines, integrating technology-driven aspects with clinical trials. The future research infrastructure will act as a pediatric common service for pediatric research. In this way, EPTRI will help to design...
Mariangela, okay. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, and now it is okay?
Yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So I was saying that in this way, EPTRI will help to design a virtual space for all pediatric researchers. identify critical gaps in pediatric medicine's research, as well as to integrate pediatric research with existing biomedical research infrastructures. Next slide. EPTRI will be composed of 5 technical and scientific domains, including 4 thematic platforms that are Pediatric Medicines Discovery and Early Drug Development Platform, Pediatric Biomarkers and Biosamples, the Pediatric Pharmacology Thematic Platform, and the Pediatric Medicines Formulation and Medical Devices. It is composed also of 1 scientific domain underpinning pediatric studies, integrating key technologies into medicine's development process in children and acting as a bridge between EPTRI and the other research infrastructure and pediatric clinical trials networks. Next slide. In order to set up the new research infrastructure within the European landscape, the project encompasses 3 different phases: a context analysis that aims to acquire the information needed to estimate the possible service providers and the existing gaps; an operational phase focused more specifically on the design of the whole research infrastructure; and the third feasibility phase, in which selected pilot experiences will allow testing a limited number of services and tools that will be delivered within EPTRI. Okay, so now I would like to leave the ground to Estíbaliz, who can go on in presenting the social media to communicate science.
Thank you very much, Maria Angela, for your kind presentation. Now I think that we can start talking about the topic of the present webinar, which is social media to communicate science and research and development projects. You know that nowadays, more and more people rely on the internet as their primary source for news and information about science, including health issues. That's why it is crucial to be on the World Wide Web today, because it's useful to disseminate scientific topics, to do crowdfunding, to do citizen science, to find researchers, to teach science, and to create and coordinate R&D projects, and also to position your research group or institution. And this may increase your research impact, which is very important. Inside the web, social media platforms are the champions, definitely. They reach a lot of people, they are quicker, faster, they are attractive to young people, and they have a personalized feedback. These are advantages that we should take into account when disseminating science through the internet. Regarding social media, there are a lot, you know that there are a lot of platforms, different platforms, but we are going to speak today about the most important ones, these 5 platforms that are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook is the most widely used social media platform in the world. On Facebook, you may write long messages and share stories to a non-specialized audience. You can include pictures, GIFs, videos, polls, and you have the possibility to create private groups. And also you have the option to create business pages, which have a corporate focus and are very useful to advertise a business or a project or an institution. Unfortunately, the content on Facebook depends on complicated algorithms to reach the audience, and Facebook changes this very often. So for that reason, you have the possibility to pay for advertising, increasing your general scope. You will reach more people and gain followers under paid publicity. So this is something that you may want to consider. Facebook ads have micro-targeting features that allow reaching the exact target audience based on several characteristics like demographics, location, interests, and behaviors. Twitter is a very popular micro-blogging platform with more than 300 million users worldwide. And here on Twitter, you can write short messages or tweets the famous tweets that are up to 280 characters. You can also include visuals and posts in those tweets to increase engagement. One interesting feature about Twitter is that you can make lists of profiles of your interest, which can be either private or public, which will help you to create targeted audiences. Also, you can monitor or look for hot topics using the famous hashtags. The audience is very rich and diverse on Twitter, and researchers are really into this platform, so do not miss this platform. Do not miss Twitter. The main problem here is that tweets have a very limited life on the timeline, so they get lost. So if you want to reach people, you have to be very persistent and tweet a lot throughout the day. Here we have LinkedIn, which is the most famous professional network worldwide, and it was initially used for recruiting, but now companies and institutions also use it to build a solid and respectful image, and also to interact with professional audiences. As it has the option to create specific groups and company pages. On LinkedIn, you can tag profiles on your posts and also use hashtags like you do on Twitter. And here on LinkedIn, you have a special feature, which is called Pulse. You can see it here, Pulse, which is a kind of blog where you can write full articles to position yourself. This is only available, though, on the English version. LinkedIn is also very useful to disseminate events like conferences, workshops, or meetings. Okay, Instagram is the top social media platform among young people, but now it's growing a lot, and older people are also starting to use it. The content is very ephemeral, as it happens on Twitter. And one of the most popular features of Instagram are the Instagram stories, which only last 24 hours, but they are very interesting because you can see which people are seeing those stories, so you can start knowing your audience better. And finally, we have YouTube, which is the most visited video sharing platform in the world, with 1.58 billion active users worldwide. On YouTube, you can have your own channel, you can upload your videos, you can check the subscriptions to your channel, you have likes on your video, comments, and you can also create playlists of videos and add your customized subtitles. And this is very interesting because it avoids the language barrier and you can reach more people. Always take into account that young people don't watch TV anymore. So YouTube is their TV. So it is important to be on this platform. Okay, now that we know the available platforms, we should start creating a message. But how? First, it is essential to know your audience. The first thing is to know your audience. You need to know what people you want to reach before choosing the social media platform that suits you best for your purpose. So first, identify your audience. And next, when you've done this, you can choose your channel. You want to reach a specialist audience, you should go on LinkedIn or Twitter. Lay public, Facebook and maybe Twitter. Teenagers, well, definitely Instagram and YouTube. Okay, and once you've done this, the next step is to create the message. A personalized message for each social media platform, because you cannot use the same post on LinkedIn and on Instagram. You have to focus, and the posts have to be very customized for each social media platform. We will see this later. Here, there are some tips that will help you to create engaging posts on social media. First of all, you have to choose, as we said before, an appropriate tone of voice. It's not the same LinkedIn or Instagram, and you must choose like a more formal tone of voice when writing a post on LinkedIn. And on Instagram, you can be very informal. You have to include on your posts keywords, tags, and hashtags. You have to use always visual content. You can include emojis and friendly links, of course. And you also have to be smartphone friendly, because people nowadays check their smartphones, check their profiles, their social media profiles through their smartphones. So you have to take this into account when doing a post. You have to be appellative too. You have to raise questions, you have to include polls, ask people to share your contents, etc. You also have to publish at specific times, but you have to do this after studying your audience and knowing when these people are mostly online during the day. Surely you have to interact with the audience, and you have to be concise and direct with your posts. And also you have to create interesting content using a defined strategy. Okay, and try, if you can, try to schedule your posts in advance. You have to set the date you want to post your posting, the kind of post, include the friendly link, and the content of the post. And this will save you a lot of time, and it will also help you controlling your social media plan. Okay, well, this slide summarizes some specific features of Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn that will help you with your social media plan. It is important to know that the difference amongst the different social media platforms to create appropriate posts. So on Facebook, for example, we know that we can create communities using the groups. Also, we have a donation button for nonprofits, and this is very interesting for patients' organizations. It is good to share infographics and videos to explain different topics. And I would recommend to create thematic campaigns on Facebook. Then we have Twitter. As we said before, we have the lists of profiles of interests. It is good also always to create short tweets. Don't use the whole 280 characters. And try to create threads and polls to engage the audience. And also retweets and mention other profiles. Okay. Then on LinkedIn, we have to use a more formal tone always. We can include tags and hashtags on the posts, and it is better to publish, for example, scientific papers, conferences, and professional outcomes. You can also, on LinkedIn, you can also join professional groups with similar interests. Okay, now that we have the platform and the message, how can we disseminate science, research, or the work that we are doing within an R&D project through social media? How can we do this? Again, the first thing to do is to choose carefully your channel and adequate your contents to those channels, always. And once you have opened your profile or different profiles, you can start following other interesting profiles which are related to your discipline or professional environments, like influencers, science communicators, journalists, institutions, or research centers. You have also have to think about a strategy for your content creation and schedule your posts. On Twitter, for example, you have to tweet at least through 2 or 3 times a day, because otherwise your timeline will disappear. And I would suggest on Twitter to go live posting and go posting throughout the day, although you can also schedule your posts. And I would also suggest to share videos and infographics explaining topics related to your research area or the structure and goals of your project, for example. If you have one, you should always try to redirect traffic to your website through all your social media platforms. or to your blog, whatever you have. You want to reach people through those platforms. Then I would recommend to post, of course, content of your own, which is original, engaging, and simple, but you can also share other people's contents. And this will help you to create like a kind of community. Also, you have to monitor interesting conversation, and you can use for this the trending topics, the hashtags, and you have to be ready to read the news every day. You can be informed about scientific hot topics using platforms like Feedly, Google Alerts, and ResearchGate. Always use free pictures and feed on reliable scientific sources, the original papers, reviews, and scientific journals. Also, you have to keep personal opinions separate from your posts. And finally, you can evaluate your profiles by collecting the most relevant KPIs, like the followers you have, the views, the reach, likes, the engagement, the retweets. And this will help you test which posts are working better on your audience and which are their interests. Okay, and now, if you're a scientist or an academic who wants to communicate your job through social media, first of all, you have to remember that you are on social media. You are not at a scientific congress, so you must always have to avoid the technical jargon and too much data. People don't like these things. People don't like long posts and a lot of numbers, and they get bored, they get lost, and they leave. So avoid this. And whenever you can, when you can use humor to increase engagement with your audience. Also, you can try to tell a story. People are engaged more if they are moved or thrilled by an exciting story. This happens a lot in science fiction, literature, etc. To explain scientific topics, you may use analogies and metaphors. The classic example of mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. This will help people to understand scientific issues more easily. Of course, as I said before, keep it very simple. Avoid giving too many details when explaining, for example, a scientific paper. You should only give like 3 key points to explain the paper so that the audience understands the paper. You may also try to bond your scientific work with popular culture like films, music, celebrities, art, and this will surely increase impact among your audience. And once again, remember that images are your friends. You always use visuals in every post you publish, as well as emojis when you can, when necessary. Okay, so now here you can see some posts that illustrate what we just talked about. This example, the first one, for example, is from a page called Science, Communication and Visualization, Somersault. And it is extremely popular because it grabs people's attention by posting very impactful videos, funny memes, and GIFs and animations. Often making use of humor and appealing to the audience's feelings. And here in the second example, we have Hashim Al-Khaili, which is a Facebook page that posts very visual videos that that are from the Hashim, from the scientist. He creates the videos, and he explained scientific and medical issues in a very visual manner. I really recommend this profile. And here we have also Compound of Interests, which is a page that posts very curious and visual infographics about that explain the chemistry of the everyday life. On Twitter, for example, we have this molecular laboratory, molecular plant lab that disseminates their work through Twitter. And here we have a post about the staff of the laboratory. They did like some interviews. They posted some photographs. So this is a good thing to do if you want to disseminate the job of your lab through social media. And here we have a profile called Cancer Research UK, which does dissemination about cancer facts and treatments in a very engaging way. And here we have the Amoeba Sisters, which explain scientific issues, creating very funny and cute illustrations that really go viral. This is very popular, this profile. And as we can see here, LinkedIn is very different. The tone is much more formal, and the contents are more corporate. Like the first example, for example, we have an interview to the staff of the institution, for example. We have also advice for researchers or professionals or clinicians. And you can also post, like here, the European Food Safety Authority, you can post events of interest of your audience. Instagram is very different from LinkedIn. As we can see here, it's very popular and informal. And here the image is the queen. So you have to take care of posting very good images, good quality, or nice, or engaging, or funny, or whatever. And also try to use a nice caption. For example, you can see here that it's very, very long, and maybe nobody would like to read all this text. I prefer the example of Boiling Stone, which is a very simple caption. It's funny, it's engaging. He uses a lot of hashtags and emojis. So I would go for the second example if you want to post on Instagram. Okay, we make use of several social media platforms to disseminate the outcomes of the EPTRI project, just as Maria Angela explained before. So we wanted to reach both the lay public and professionals. So we decided to open a Facebook profile and a LinkedIn profile, a LinkedIn page. We also have a YouTube channel where we publish all the videos related to the project. On Facebook, we decided to create thematic campaigns about research areas that are tackled in the project. This is, for example, biobanks, pharmacology, pediatric pharmacology, formulation science, and also research, basic research in general. We craft banners like these ones that you see here, explaining basic scientific notions. These are simple, and the audience does not need a lot of time to read or watch. So these are pretty engaging. But on LinkedIn, we prefer to disseminate news of interest for the stakeholders of the project. And we usually present to partners. We talk about events where EPTRI participates. And we also publish public calls, like this one here from the EMA. And we also publish scientific articles. So now that we've reached pretty much the end of the webinar, I would like to make a brief summary of the contents. If you want to communicate science or research and development projects through social media, first of all, you need to identify your audience and choose your social media platform. Then, once you've done this, you can start creating engaging and personalized messages for each platform, always trying to be simple, concise, and avoiding technical language. Always use visuals to explain scientific topics, interact with your audience, And finally, monitor your profiles to learn more and improve your strategy. So now if you have any question, you can write them on the chat box on the right side of the screen, and we will answer gladly. Thank you.